everyone, my name is Eric and I'm here with your daily dose of hope. When Melanie and I lived in California, we had a dog, and this dog, he loved to run. So every morning I'd get on my bike, I'd have him on his leash when it was dark outside and there really wasn't much traffic, and I'd take him for a bike ride and just let him sprint. Well, this area that we lived in, there was a lot of like raccoons and skunks and possums and things like that. And one morning I wasn't paying attention, I was not alert, and he saw one, took off after it. His leash went under my tire. I flipped off. I got a handle into the inside of my leg, and I got up and yelped and jumped around for a while and had a huge bruise on my leg. After that, when I went, you can bet that I was alert and watchful. I was looking around to see if I could see any animals. I would watch our dog. I had the leash shorter. I was listening to see if I could hear any animals. I was much more alert and watchful. And that's what I want to talk about today, is being watchful, okay? And it comes from Mark 14, when Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane and he's about to be betrayed and turned over. He's with Peter, James, and John, and in verse 34 he says, "Remain here and watch." And then Jesus goes and prays, and then he comes back and he finds those guys asleep. And in verse 37 and 38 he says this, he says, "Peter, are you asleep? Could you not watch 1 hour?" And then he says, "Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." I oftentimes think as Christians, this idea of watching and praying so we may not enter into temptation, we're good at the second part of praying. But where we struggle is with the watching, okay? The word watch here, it's translated from a word that means to have the alertness of a guard at night, right? To have that hyper-vigilant, sensitive awareness of what is going on, just like I did when I was on my bike with my dog, okay? To have that kind of alertness. And if we're honest, I know, like for myself, when I struggle with temptation or when I give in to temptation is when I'm not alert, when I'm not watchful, when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, when I've let my guard down, when I least expect it, right? That's what happened with the disciples here. They fell asleep, right? They couldn't pray. The reason they couldn't pray was because they weren't alert. It was late at night. It was bedtime. They were more about just falling asleep at that moment. And the reason I'm bringing all of this up is this. Today, some of the restrictions are being lifted on businesses, which is a great thing. And if things go well, it's going to continue to go on like that. And that means that we're going to get back to the way things were before everything started with COVID. And that's a good thing, but it also means that all the worldly temptations that were here before are going to come back. And some of this great time that we've had with the Lord or with our family or just focusing on maybe some new positive things, those things are going to come under attack with the temptations of the world again. And so with that, I want to give you two ways that you can be watchful and alert from not falling into those temptations. And the first one is this: just have your eyes on Christ. Let me read you this from Colossians 3, verses 1 through 2. "If then you have been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth." Okay, in other words, strive after Jesus. Seek Jesus. Continue to be prayerful. Continue to get into His Word, to meditate on His Word. As it tells us in Philippians 4, think about things that are lovely, that are true, that are admirable, that are noble. Those are the things that we should be focused on. Strive after Jesus. I know that when I strive after Jesus, when I am looking to Him and pursuing Him, that is when the sins and the temptations of the world just seem to fall by the wayside. And the second thing is this: have a plan. You need to have a plan, okay? Because listen, those temptations, they are going to come back, and you've got to figure out, what does that mean? If it's negativity, I'm going to stay off of social media, right? If it's things that I don't want to see with my eyes, I'm going to stay off of the TV, okay? It's maybe putting my phone down so I can have that time with my kids, or making sure that I continue to start each morning with the Lord. Because again, as they say, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And it's the same way with temptation. If you don't have a plan, you're going to fail. So be alert, be watchful, be prayerful, and strive after Jesus. God bless.